language. Thank you, Chris, and Liz Halstead as well. Auckland Design Office. Liz is over there. And Auckland Design Office and Auckland Transport, thank you.
Yeah, good stuff.
Now we'll go to item 12, which is Unlock Henderson.
You really want to unlock it?
Yeah, I know.
And welcome the staff.
Toe, expect your support, Toe.
We do.
Welcome,
Lock you up, mate. Locked you.
welcome David Rankin.
Oh, right.
David, would you like to introduce, but I would like to introduce actually myself, Sir Bob Harvey. Sir Bob, welcome. Good to see you at our table.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Shane Henderson representing the local board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Shane, would you like to give us your feedback at the outset? David, would that be
Yeah, that's fine,
amenable?
Mr. Chairman, and most
And
appropriate.
then I'll go to David, and David can introduce staff and support and a brief presentation. But I think we'll take your feedback first, Shane.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chair, and we'll briefly sort of outline Henderson Massey Local Board's view. You may have noticed in the news that the long-tailed bat has returned to Henderson Creek after 15 years. So it shows that even the bats are on board with the eco centre. We're going well. So there we go. So I'll acknowledge the prize support that we've had and the great relationship we have with Panuku Development, Auckland as well. Acknowledge Sir Bob here, legend of the West to my right. And we've had, through this process, a strong engagement with mana whenua, which should be acknowledged as well. And in fact, we've taken the whole community along for the ride with us. We had it in our annual plan and reasonably strong support. So that's really, really exciting. So we're here to endorse this plan with the caveat that it should be resourced adequately. And we submit that the proceeds of sale should be reinvested into Henderson. Now, we want more housing. And we want that housing to be market attractive and integrated into a successful community with a strong vision. Through ring fencing the proceeds of sale, we would ideally like a cost neutral outcome, but with huge social and community benefit. And we, through this plan, are intending to look at parking for housing opportunities, and that's no small thing. So we've put our necks on the line here, really, and we see some great opportunities to raise that into a high level family living. We want Panuku to have flexibility through this plan so our eco centre can be a leading light that we can all be proud of in across all of Auckland. And as you will have seen from the documentation, we have a vision to return our identity, our success, our point of difference back to Henderson. Let's progress our family-centric eco centre vision, and thank you in advance for your support today.
Thank you, Shane. Would you like to you can just stay there, Shane? We might have some questions from you after David and Richard's presentation. But I think at the outset I'll invite Councillors Hulse and Cooper to either move second. Which one is it?
Penny, you go, I'll second.
Second.
Yeah.
Move Councillor Hulse, seconded Councillor Cooper, so it's on the table. David, in your hands with Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you've noted, I'm joined with Richard, who some of you know is an alter ego in Manukau as well. And Adam Sadgrove is here from Panuku. He's the development manager that will be executing on the commercial sites. I wasn't planning to say very much, Mr. Chairman, because we did have the advantage of a useful workshop with the committee a few weeks ago, and I think there was a good discussion from our perspective, and I hope those councillors who were able to be here found the same. I guess, to me, Henderson represents exactly the sort of setting that Panuku was formed to address. It's a centre with really good bones and a lot of strengths. Clearly in recent times it's had now the strategic advantage of the rail line, electrified rail line there, and it's in an international context not very far at all from the CBD. While it has strengths, like a lot of the suburban centres we're operating in, it also has a number of challenges. I mean, it was built for and in a different era, and we only need to think of things like the Westgate Centre and what that does to the retail, a lot of these traditional town centres, to know that we do have to be in the business of working with the bones that are there, but of also actually over time repurposing a lot of these centres to give them a fresh lease of life, which logically, in our view, in Henderson, as the chairman of the local board said, is built around a mixed sort of housing story. And so you'll have seen that coming through clearly in the high-level project plan that's, that we're asking you to approve. To pick up another theme that the chairman of the board referred to, and it's a theme that we've raised with you already repeatedly, to get people to live in centres like this, support your intensification strategy, we can't imagine that that's going to happen without investment in a better living environment in town centres that weren't designed to be residential centres originally. And Henderson too is a good example of that. It will need money spent improving the public amenity, and at the appropriate part in the LTP process, we will be making that case in respect of Henderson and some other centres that are in this unlock category, having already raised with you the issue around the transform locations. So I think that's probably all I need to say by way of introduction, Mr. Chairman, and we will be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, David. Members, just as David's reminded us, we did have a very good workshop on this, and if you go to the hub, if you want to refresh yourself, it's a confidential record for the 5th of April. You will find it there. No doubt you have already found it and read it. So we're not planning to redo the workshop here today. It's a high-level introduction. And thank you, David. Richard, is there anything further to add from your part?
No, nothing.
Thank you.
Just to thank Bob Harvey. It's really the vision of the eco-city at Waitakere, which is being kind of revealed and reshaped to be focused on Henderson. And the urban eco-centre is a goal and vision that many parts of the organisation and community now support. So
Bob,
thank
we're not
to
letting
Bob
you
for
go
that.
without you having your say.
Mr. Chairman, councillors, kia ora. Yes, I guess that myself and 6, I think, extraordinary councils in the West work towards a common vision around Henderson. We also had that little centre called New Lynn sitting closer to Auckland, which was actually more connected to Auckland than ever Henderson was. So Henderson really was the very heart of the West. And our vision was to glue the West together around Henderson. And sir, I think we're seconds from success. And the arrival of Panuku has made that possible. There is some really extraordinary good pieces of development around the centre. You may recall that we have the cycleway also, which I think is a great gift to Auckland. It really starts at Henderson along the Opanuku stream, comes down to the motorway through some beautiful land and the creeks, the Henderson creeks. In fact, if I had the chance to rename Henderson, I'd call it Twin Creeks, because that's what we have. And now we have these cycleways, walkways. And so in many ways, it's a magician's trick. It's all there to be unveiled. It has terrific parks. It has a centre to dream for, I think, and Panuku is that magical answer. And the land around the creeks and the town centre and the railway is ready for the 21st century. So it's ready to go, sir, councillors.
Thank you. I'm not sure whether the chair of the board will allow you to rename it from Henderson to Twin Creeks.
I was going to name it after myself, but I never had the chance.
I'd have to change my
Well,
name,
Got to
Chairman.
wait to die first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the aptly named Shane Henderson. I think it's fantastic having you in the leadership role on this, Shane. I just want to, Mr. Chair, acknowledge the board. This is a board who, as Shane alluded to, is happy to give up some at-grade parking, a lot of at-grade parking, actually, for redevelopment. I think it's the only board so far that has actively done this because they can see and understand the big vision. And I make no apologies for raising that. I think if if we are going to start transforming Auckland, we need our boards to show this kind of leadership. So I publicly want to acknowledge that. And I think, just quickly, Mr. Chair, I hope that people around this table get 100% behind this. If we are going to get people living in town centres who can completely change the way that they live and live, if they wish to, in a car-free way, you can do it here. It is the most accessible centre by bike, it's the most accessible centre by public transport, and it's the most accessible centre to some exquisite natural beauty on its front doorstep. So, at the risk of being accused of raving on and showing my Westie roots too clearly, I think this one for us is an absolute no-brainer. It's a quick win, and if I was a wealthy woman, I would be buying and investing in Henderson in a heartbeat. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Cooper and then come to Member Hinari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the team here because even though, I mean, this could be, and I hope that councillors don't think this is a legacy project, because what it is, it's a new vision based on basically standing on the shoulders of the good work that was done to actually get the infrastructure right. You know, the vision was there, but what's happened over time is that we've realised that it's not about the retail. We tried that, it's not. It's about getting people living in that town with skin in the game, that own houses with a walkable catchment to everything, which we've talked about. You know, you can walk to the primary school, you can walk to the high school, you can walk to the train station, you can mall, the library, the swimming pool, and you can even eat Lincoln Road. You can cycle up there and cycle back. And so the reality about this is that, you know, we talked about that this wasn't going to be a transform, but in reality we will need money. But I do think that it's not like we have to, you know, go to the ratepayers for that. We've got opportunities. This is one of the few unlocks where we own a significant amount of land. And in the past there's been issues about parking, and I remember a couple of councillors lost their jobs over parking at one stage in the last century. Not quite the last century, early in the century. But I think the time has come now where our train system is quiet, it's efficient, it's fast. It's going to get even faster once the Central Rail Link finishes. And I think that those are the opportunities we need to build on now and give people an opportunity to live in a great little town, and then the good retail will come. This will be a catalyst, and I think that only council can do this in partnership with developers. I don't think if we can just rely on developers or just the retailers, it isn't going to work. We've tried it before. This is an opportunity for us to leverage what we already have with good partners and make this, you know, this is only, you know, about 15k from the city, not even that. It's closer than an awful lot of other towns, and it's just going to provide really good family living, and that's why I really commend it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Member Hinari.
Kia ora, Bob. Good to see you.
Good to see you, kia ora.
A couple of questions, David, about any of the sale process of council's property and land. Will that go through the same RFR, Treaty of Waitangi process, blah, 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 blah?
It goes through the same process as other council land. There's no RFR as such in a council environment, but we have a process that works closely with interested mana whenua.
Okay. Second is out of the developers, and I suppose I'm sort of half wearing my Housing New Zealand hat. So there will be collaboration with major players like Hobsonville Land Company and Housing New Zealand and along the way in terms of any housing.
Yeah, if there is interest from a Crown entity or a not-for-profit, obviously we try and see whether there's an opportunity in a town centre for that to happen. We're just in the process of about to start the long-awaited redevelopment of the Wilshire Village site, as it's known. We had lengthy discussions with HNZ over whether there was an interest in that. So yeah, that's part of how we work.
And the last sort of supplementary question on this whole development is, being a resident of Te Aratu Peninsula for the last 30-odd years, can you give some guarantee to the population out there that any development will be quicker and more efficient than the current roadworks along Te Aratu
You can't answer.
Te Aratu Road, which has been the bane of every bloody resident out there for just a widening of a road?
Hopefully.
When you
I'm not
couldn't
sure whether-
possibly comment,
It's a good
it's not
statement.
from
I'm not sure whether
18,
there
is
is an answer, but
Oh, you know where I am.
on to you. We do. Thank you. Councillor Hills.
Hey, thank you. Just briefly, this is fantastic. I thank you all for being here. I also especially want to thank the local board. I think that the local board showing leadership on this is so important, and accepting that you have to give up some things to get some fantastic outcomes. And I hope other local boards around the city kind of bring that up. I know that if, there will be challenges with other local boards, and it'll be you guys who show the way or get pushed up the list if we can't get good agreement. So I think this is really exciting for all of you sitting there. Thank you for your work on it. But it's just got to be the way forward, that we transform underutilised spaces for people and for housing and for good infrastructure. Otherwise, we are all going to be living out on the periphery of Auckland and going to have pretty terrible outcomes, especially for future generations. So I think this is one small piece of terrible. Terrible. Oh no.
Oh, I thought of a Franklin.
I'm talking about God.
Of course, I thought of a Franklin.
Thank you. I don't interrupt everyone else when they go on and on.
Touche, brother, touche.
Slag off where other people love it. No, I'm talking about 2 to 3 hour commutes and things like that, and being split off from your family and things like that. So this is the way forward, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, I'd like to acknowledge the work of Panuku, who have worked very swiftly on this. Richard, you've been doing the hard yards. David, your whole team. When I look across the remit of your work at Panuku, is it Adam at the rear?
Yeah.
Adam, again, acknowledge you as well. Look, where there's been a willingness of board, political leadership. Shane, I don't just acknowledge you, but your whole board. It's very, as Councillor Hills emphasises, there are some bold calls here. There are 15 titles of land, small and quite big and significant, which you're prepared to offer up. The potential, it's not at this stage confirmed that we are disposing of those to realise greater outcomes, but I really have to acknowledge your board for having the big picture in mind, right up high, and not necessarily just holding on to nostalgia. So it is a big call. It is a really big call. There's $26 million possibly. That is significant. And I do note your paragraph 38 in the report, where you've expressed an interest in reinvesting some of those proceeds, or possibly all of those proceeds, Shane. Look, that's not a decision that we can make at this committee.
Sure.
It's popped up in relationship to other unlocked categories, and I think it's for the Finance Committee to look at that policy. And I understand that we will be looking at that policy, but we need to be mindful of all of Auckland at the same time, and I know you are. So, Sir Bob, thank you for your long leadership in this area, and Twin Creeks may prevail.
Streams.
I like it. Twin Creeks, Twin Peaks.
Streams.
Hopefully it doesn't have the
Creeks.
drama of
dreams.
Twin Peaks. It could have a different drama. I'm sure it does have drama. But it's certainly got atmosphere. It's on the table, moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you all. Now, members.